Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good morning. Welcome you to the class today of fluid mechanics. In the fluid kinematics that we were already discussing, today we are going to discuss some of the topics of fluid motion or types of fluid motion, and we will also understand what is vorticity and what is circulation. So in this lecture, when we are talking about types of fluid motion, there are number of types. You can see you can have pure translation with linear deformations, which we also call linear strain, and translation with angular deformations, where we will have shear strain and you can have rotation. All these four types of motion can occur simultaneously, or some of the motions can occur and some may not occur. The motion and deformation of fluid elements are expressed in terms of rates. So here we mostly define these motions or deformations in terms of rates of the deformation, and that's why we may call shear strain rate or linear strain rate and so on. And the deformation rates are expressed in terms of velocities and their derivatives, because in fluid flow we know that we are going to calculate the flow velocities. So if we define the deformations in terms of the flow velocities, then it is going to be easier for us. So we'll see how these deformation rates are defined in terms of the velocities. And the rate of translation vector is going to represent the velocity vector. So the rate of translation vector is nothing but your velocity vector. Okay, all right. So let us look at them one by one. First of all, let us look at pure translation. When the pure translation is going to occur, this is possible when the flow is uniform. So when you call the flow is uniform, the flow is going to be uniform when there is no change in the spatial directions or no change in x, y and z. So flow is going to be a function of time only. So at a given time, there is no change. So I can write down u is a function of t as well as v is a function of t. So the flow velocities u and v are neither a function of x or y. If I have a 2D domain, which I have shown here, let us say this is your x direction, this is your y direction. So there is not going to be any change in the x and y directions at a given time t. Okay, and let us say my fluid element that I am going to consider is shown here, which has a dimension delta x and delta y. Okay, and this fluid element, which is shown at the dot center, let us say, is going to move due to the velocity u and v, which are only functions of time. Okay, so when I look at the change that is going to happen, what will happen as it moves from one point to other point? There is no change in the velocity in the spatial directions. So it is u here at this point. Let us say if I consider, it is going to be u here, and the velocity at this point is going to be same u. It is not changing. So if I take the advection of this point, it's going to be u dt, and from this point the velocity was again u. Let me write it down. So you had the velocity u here, and similarly the velocity here also is u, because in space it is the same velocity. Now we are taking the time delta t. Okay, so in time delta t, the displacement of this point, let us say this point is a. Okay, the point a will move to the new location, that is point a1. Now this point distance that is going to move is nothing but your u dt. All right. So this distance is nothing but u delta t. So this is the new position. Similarly, if I take the vertical direction, this point A is going to move by v dt to this new position, which is up to this. So this is nothing but your velocity v multiplied by dt. All right. So this particle is going to move, or this point A is going to move to this point A1. Similarly, if I have point B, C, D, so on, this A, B, C, D, A1, B1, C1, D1 is going to represent your new location of this fluid particle. Okay. So the deformation is taking place, or the change is taking place, but it is just moving from one location to another location. So it's a pure translation. Okay. So there will be no change in the length of the sides of this fluid element. All right, because you have moved the point A to A1, that is with u dt, and similarly point B to B1 with the same distance u dt. So there is no change in the side. Okay. And now if you look at, there will be no change in the included angles made by the sides of the fluid element. If there is no change in the sides, this is just moving to another location, there cannot be any change in the angle between the sides, and the sides are displaced in parallel directions. So if I have a side like this whole thing is going to move to another location. So this, they move in the parallel direction, whatever may be that. Okay. So these are called pure translation. Now let us look at the translation with linear deformation. So when it is going to happen? When the flow field u is ux, or u is a function of x, and v is a function of y alone. Okay. So your velocity u is a function of x and velocity v is a function of y. Then you will have translation with linear deformation. We will see how. Let us take the same element a, b, c, d. Okay. Now this element a, b, c, d, if it is changing, we know u is a function of x. Okay. So u dt is going to be the displacement for the location A. So a new location, that is, let us say A1, is going to be here, which is displaced with this distance u dt. Now because u is a function of x, your velocity at this location location A was u, but at the location B, it is not going to remain u, because u is a function of x. So it will be u plus, you have the gradient. Gradient along the x direction is dou u by dou x. Velocity gradient is nothing but your dou u by dou x, and over a distance of delta x, you have this as your velocity at this point B. Now with this velocity, the displacement that can happen for the point B is going to be u plus du by dx into delta x multiplied by delta t. Over a time, this is what is going to be the displacement. So your point B1 will be displaced by this amount, and this could be different than this what you had here, and that's why the length or the line is going to undergo some deformation, and that's going to be linear. There is no deformation in the y direction we are talking about. It is only in the x direction. So it's a linear deformation. All right. Similarly, if you talk about velocity v, which is a function of y, you will also encounter similar deformation in the y direction. It could be positive, it could be negative, but there will be deformation if it is a function of y. Velocity v is a function of y. So now you can see that the fluid element ABCD suffers a change in its linear dimensions along with translation. So it has moved as well as deformed. So there is a translation with linear deformation. All right. So there is no change in the included angles, because these sides have just enlarged in their respective directions. They have not moved anything in the lateral direction, so there will not be any change in the included angles between the sides. All right, and the changes in the lengths along the coordinate axis per unit time or unit original lengths are defined as the components of linear deformation or linear or strain rate. That's the strain that is taking place. So if I take the change per unit length, then I get the strain rate, okay, in the respective directions. And if you want to write down that, you can write down as linear strain rate, which will be in every possible direction. It could be in x direction, it could be in y direction, it could be in z directions. So is defined as the rate of change in length per unit length, and noted the notation, standard notation for this strain is epsilon. So the change linear strain rate in x direction is denoted as epsilon xx. Okay, so you have the strain rate, linear strain rate epsilon xx is given as dou u by dou x, and similarly epsilon yy is given as dou v by dou y and dou w by dou z in the z directions. If we take all these changes together or sum it up, we call it volumetric strain rate or bulk strain rate. Bulk strain rate or volumetric strain rate is the sum of the linear strain rates in all three mutually orthogonal directions, because you have three directions for a volume, and if you take the change in all three directions, you are going to get the volumetric strain rate, which is nothing but your epsilon volume. Okay, you have the epsilon, let us say I'll tell epsilon volumetric strain rate is equals to dou u by dou x plus dou v by dou y plus dou w by dou z, combination of all three strain rates. And this volumetric strain rate is going to be zero for an incompressible flow. If the flow is incompressible, obviously what will happen? You cannot compress. Even if you try to squeeze it from one side, it will reflect in the other side. So the volume is going to remain same. So the volume strain rate or change in the volume is going to be zero. So in that case, if you look at this plot or this figure, so the A, B, C, D, what you see here, and there is a change which is happening. U is a function of x, V is a function of y. If there is positive deformation in this direction x, then obviously there will be some change which will be negative in the y direction. Okay, so the volumetric strain rate, if you calculate the strain rate here epsilon xx, and this will give you epsilon yy. So epsilon xx could be positive, epsilon xx yy could be negative. So if you add them together, you are going to get a zero value. Okay, so that is what is going to happen for incompressible flows. The volumetric strain rate is going to be zero. All right. Now, having understood linear strain rate, now let us look at the translation with angular deformation. We have already seen translation with linear deformation. Let us look at translation with angular deformation. When it is going to happen? The translation with angular deformation will happen when u and v both are possibly the function of x and y both. So u is a function of both x and y, v is a function of both x and y. Now in such cases, what will happen? There will be some deformation in the x direction because you have a velocity gradient, that is dou u by dou x multiplied by delta x, that is in the x direction. You will also have some component in the y direction. There will be a change in the velocity in the y direction. So you will see some deformation in x as well as in y. And if we see this fluid element, that is A, B, C, D, okay, which we have considered initially, when it is deformed, the deformation at this point is going to be, so let me just draw it. So the point from B, let me say up to this. Okay, the point B has moved to this new location B or B1, and this is going to be your u plus dou u by dou x multiplied by delta t. All right. So now we know that this distance is going to be u plus dou u by dou x multiplied by dx, I think. Yeah, multiplied by delta x. Here there is one delta x here. So multiplied by delta x into delta t. So that is the distance that is going to move in this x direction. The point B is going to displace to this new location. But when u is changing, at the same time, v is also changing in the x direction. Okay, sorry, v is also changing in the y direction. So what is the change that has happened? That change is dou v by dou x multiplied by delta x. The change of velocity v along the x direction. Okay, so change of velocity v along the x direction is dou v by dou x into delta x multiplied by delta t. Okay, so that is going to give you the displacement of this particle or position v in the y direction. So because of this change in the velocity u, there is a displacement in the x direction. Because of the change in the velocity v in the y direction, there is a displacement in the y direction. So when you move from time t1 to t2, there is a displacement which has happened in the x direction as well as y direction. So the new position is going to be here. So similarly, you can have the changes at all these points, and the new position, if you look at, it could be completely deformed, which will be deformed in x as well as y directions, and that is going to give you the angular deformation. The fluid element suffers a continuous angular deformation along with linear deformations. Okay, so because it has moved in the lateral direction also, not only along the axis that you are talking about. If you are talking about x-axis, so it is not only deforming along that, because the v is also a function of x, so it is also changing in the y direction. Okay, so the included angles between AB and AD, let us say, is going to change now. Okay, which was not changing in the earlier cases in case of pure translation and translation with linear deformation. Now that included angle is going to deform, or it's going to change in case of angular deformations. Okay, and the rate of angular deformation is called the rate of change of rate of change of the angle. Okay, so rate of angular deformation is going to be the change that is happening between these two line segments. Okay, now from this we can write down that the angular deformation gamma xy, let us say, is nothing but the change in the angle. What is the change in the angle? That is d alpha, which is the change here. You can see this angle is nothing but alpha. So this d alpha, the small change in the angle over a period of time, is nothing but your rate of angular deformation. So you have to take all the angular deformations or both the angular deformations. So that is d alpha by dt plus d beta by dt is going to give you the total rate of angular deformation. All right. Now, as I said earlier, we want to calculate all these rates in terms of velocities. Okay, so this rate of angular deformation, if you want to put in terms of velocity, you can write it down. So this angular deformation gamma xy is equals to d alpha by dt plus d beta by dt, and if we write down d alpha by dt, which is here, this d alpha, you can write down as dv by dx divided by dx into dt. So how did you get it? Basically, if you take this deformation, because this angle is very small, I can take it like r d theta, right? So this distance is nothing but r d theta, and r is, let us say, almost equal to delta x. The change is very small again. So this change divided by dx. So if I take that, I'm going to get dv by dx multiplied by dt. So that is nothing but my d alpha. So similarly, d beta I can find out as du by dy into dt, because delta y is divided here. So I could write down d alpha is equals to dv by dt, d beta equals to du by dt. Sorry, d alpha equals to dv by dx into dt, d beta equals to du by dy into dt. Now, if you substitute these two values, that is d alpha and d beta, in this equation, okay. So when you take and substitute the value of d alpha, the dt will be cancelled out. We will only have the term dv by dx. So that comes here. So now you have dv by dx plus du by dy, which is going to be your angular deformation. Okay, rate of angular deformation is nothing but dv by dx plus du by dy. And finally, we could write down this expression, that is the rate of angular deformation, or we call it shear strain rate. So because there is going to be some amount of angular deformation, there will be shear. So we call it shear strain rate, which is nothing but dv by dx plus du by dy. Okay. So the shear strain rate at a point is defined. This is angular rate of angular deformation. The shear strain rate at a point is defined as half the rate of angular deformation. Okay. The shear strain rate at a point is defined as half the rate of angular deformation, and what we are showing here is the Cartesian coordinate, and in Cartesian coordinate we can write down epsilon xy, that is the shear strain rate, is going to be half dou u by dou y plus dou v by dou x. So similarly, I can have epsilon yz, epsilon zx. So epsilon yz is going to be half dou w by dou y plus dou v by dou z. So similarly in zx, so you will be able to write down the angular deformations. Okay. So having understood this, now let us try to understand the fluid rotation. So rotation of a fluid, or rate of rotation or angular velocity, is defined as the average rotation of two initially perpendicular lines that intersect at that point. Okay. So it is not the rotation alone, it is the average rotation that is going to happen. So that is nothing but your rate of rotation, or it is fluid rotation. Now, if we want to understand that, we have the same figure which we have already discussed in the previous slide. If you look at the rotation, here is alpha d alpha, the rotation here is d beta, and if you take the average of that, you can write down that as a rotation which is omega z in because your plane is xy, so the rotation is about the perpendicular axis to this plane, which is nothing but your z. So we will write the rotation as omega z here. Omega z is considered, and if you consider the anticlockwise direction of movement, because the rotation you have to consider a particular direction, and here we assume that if the rotation is anticlockwise, then it is positive. Okay, so that is our reference direction, and any movement in the anticlockwise is positive. So then I can write down d alpha is positive. Okay, and d beta, which is in the clockwise direction, will be negative. Okay? So based on that, if we can write down that omega z equals to half of d alpha by dt minus d beta by dt, because the angular velocity or rotation is defined as the average rotation. So average this plus this divided by 2. Okay, so this rotation, let us say rotation 1 or theta 1 is positive, minus theta 2 is negative. So d alpha by dt is positive, d beta by dt is negative. The average of that 1 by 2 gives you the rotation of the fluid element, and that is nothing but, we already have seen, the d alpha by dt is nothing but dv by dx minus du by dy divided by 2. is going to give you the angular the rotation about z axis or rotation of this fluid element. Okay. So similarly, if it is a 3D element or 3D problem, you can have a 3D element and you can find out the rotation in all different directions. So this is omega z. We can write down omega x as well as omega y. So omega x is going to be 1 by 2 dw by dy in minus dz. Dw by dy minus dv by dz. Similarly, omega y is going to be 1 by 2 du by dz minus dw by dx. Okay. So the rotation of a fluid element can be found out from the velocities using these expressions. Okay. And we have already discussed rotational and irrotational flow. Now, if the fluids are or the fluid elements are rotational, then you should be able to find out some positive values for this omega x, omega y, omega z. If it is irrotational, then all these components omega x, omega y and omega z have to be 0. So if you evaluate for a fluid flow domain, you have the velocities. You can evaluate what is the value of omega x, omega y and omega z. If they all comes out to be 0, then you can tell that there is no rotation. The fluid is completely irrotational. All right. So this is very important, and we may use it at a later stage. So you have to remember or understand this properly.